right, ladies and gents, welcome to it. Welcome to another Ask session that is advanced or additional scalping knowledge. And today, the man of the moment is our friend Ha Anston, Marcus, and we're going to be asking him a couple of questions about his journey from the yellow dot level to all the way through to the black bear cave within the 3M challenge. And some of you are currently busy with that, and some of you perhaps are thinking about joining the 3M challenge. You've heard from a couple of black bears. We haven't had the opportunity to interview everybody, but we have three new additions in the last 2 weeks in the black bears where they've taken their $40, $20 of trading and traded it up all the way to $2,500, which is huge. That's a couple of X's in return. So let's bring up Marcus. Marcus, welcome to this your spotlight, and this is your stage. Tell us, where are you from, for those who haven't seen the flag behind your name, and also tell us what you do for a living.
Yeah, hi John. Thanks very much for that, and thanks very much for having the chance to be here and share a little bit of my experience of me. My name is Markus, obviously, 60 years old. I'm from Germany, and I work as a coach and consultant for everything around leadership, whether it is leadership in the enterprise or professional context or in a personal context. I have written a book about self-leadership, what it means and what it requires, and yeah, fulfilled myself sort of a dream with that, and try to apply a lot of that. Let's call it wisdom for a moment. I don't want to make the impression that I have that much of it, but a little I think I have in that book, and try to live that in a way and share it with the people I'm working with.
That's amazing. This was your opportunity to actually show us your book and tell us where you could buy it.
Well, we can.
Okay, okay. Why not?
That is the book. Not sure if you can see it
True.
because of the background.
Come back a little and just hold it in front of your face. Come back a little. This is what we can see. There we go. True leadership comes from, and it's in English, guys. That's amazing. I was
It
thinking
is in
we have
English.
to
Yes, I've
translate.
written it in English, and you can buy it on Amazon. So,
Okay,
but
perfect. We'll find the link and we'll pop it down in the chat below. Thank you,
yes,
Vicky.
yep.
All right, so that's super. All right, so still young at 60, and yeah, so you're a mentor around leadership, both personal and professional. So you joined Hodlnots quite a while ago. Actually, it was the month that I became a trainer alongside Marcel back in December of 2021. All right, that's nearly 4 years ago, a long
Yep.
time ago. Tell
Yep.
us, what made you back then decide to join the Hodlnots back then scalping course, which is now the foundational trading course? What got you into crypto, and what got you into doing that Hodlnots course?
Well, I used to be in sales in the past, so making money and increasing revenue, profits, and these kind of things was always part of my life, at least at the professional side. And at one point, of course, I started becoming interested in increasing my personal um, wealth, let's say, my personal fundings, and finding ways to do something meaningful with my money. And there was a community, a German community, that was built up around all the writings and teachings of Robert Kiyosaki.
Mm.
And the guy who founded that community, I came across, and I joined that community, did some workshops there, and met people, of course. And some of the people were already engaged with Marius at the time. I think it was also not that long of the Bitcoin tough existence. Mario still was promoting his services on two different brands, so to say. Marius sit with his personal domain and also the Bitcoin Tough then. So I joined first Marius on the long-term trade product and started putting money into crypto. Bought at the very worst time ever, and came pretty fast to the conclusion that I need to find ways to, um, yeah, to compensate on that and to, let's say, improve that investment. And one of the ideas that caught me was the Hodlnots initiative, the short-term trading, the more active trading with cryptos, as the profits sounded pretty promising, and as we all know, they are. So I decided to do the Hodlnots training and to become a more flexible investor slash trader.
And how did you find it during that course in that time? Did you continue then to pursue scalp trading, or were there a couple of things that perhaps happened that you didn't at that time trade that often? Because I remember you joining the den, and you were quite outspoken, and then you kind of like disappeared for a little while. So, what kind of happened after you graduated from the course back in that December course?
Well, I became a little bit frustrated with the whole crypto stuff. I also did the medium term trade, and the day trade course, and I think I did almost every course that Bitcoin Tough is offering, and I liked each of them, but for some reason I was sort of uncertain whether that is the right focus for me to put on and to really get that level of commitment that I just found now. Um, so I decided to refocus my focus on building my business again. And then I started this idea with writing the book. I took 1 month off, went to Mallorca, into a very little town on Mallorca, spent 4 weeks, 5 weeks there, sitting just with myself, writing the book, preparing the book, and just enjoying myself in between all the local people. And that was really a cool time. Then I started building up a website, a training program. I developed a training course at about the same topic and did all these kind of things. So I was not completely distracted, but I was not focusing on the trading itself, but more looking at it as an investment kind of thing. Not that active, but keeping an eye on it, but not more.
Okay.
So that was after that.
Yeah, so your attention or your focus shifted after having done the course, and then you got to writing the book, and it sounds amazing, spending 4 or 5 weeks in Mallorca, and amazing. But your focus really was on your book, the training courses around coaching and stuff. So what was it then? Because I remember you popping in randomly over the course of a year or so. You pop back into the den for a while.
Yeah.
You have a couple of posts, and you go quiet again. And I was like, oh, where's our German friend gone? But then you came back a couple of years later. So what shifted again for you so that you came back and then actually discovered the self-paced foundational trading course? And what kind of inspired you to participate in that again and get back into crypto, Marcus?
I did a lot of, let's say, personal development courses during that time, and what I've and they all different kind of formats. It were um, some live courses that I joined. I bought some self-paced courses, all on different aspects and different topics all around this personal development stuff. And I was also doing my trainings, giving my workshops, and producing my trainings and all these kind of things. And at one point, I thought, well, there is a pretty good combination or it could be a pretty good combination when I talk about personal development, leadership, and all these kind of things. Then learning how to invest and how to maximize your personal money system or the amount of money and assets you invest in yourself, that could be a good contribution, or a good addition to that whole, let's say, personal development thing,
Mm.
making it more holistic. So I said, but if I want to teach that, I need to know better. I need to know more. And I need to have, yeah, proved in a way that I could do it myself. I have done it myself. And that was the initial, let's say, inspiration to get back, because I had, of course, I was still in touch with Bitcoin, tough. I was connected, even though it was not that active at that time, point in time, but it was still there, this connection. And so I came back. And I thought I experienced a self-paced course. I like self-paced courses. That's just me. I mean, I like the way that I can decide when I do my learnings and when I'm able to invest the time to learn. So I like the format, and I've chosen yeah, to do it.
I think it's super important that we all, as humans, always look at self-enrichment and self-growth in various spheres. I mean, obviously, you're within the training, coaching, mentoring side of things as well. And I think it's imperative or important that before anybody starts to teach on a subject, that they get to know something a bit better, but more importantly, about themselves. So you can't, I think as humans, you can't go and tell someone to do a self-paced course, on whatever subject if you haven't been through the process yourself of self-paced. And I agree, self-paced courses are suited to some people, definitely. We at Hodlnots offer the self-paced version of the foundational training course, of course, the live version. And myself and Vicky, we love teaching both. But we know that certain students, resonate better in group learning, where there's a fixed time. I'm that kind of person as well, where a fixed time you rock up, you show up and you get involved. Other people like to digest, in the time that works for them. Now, you've experienced both. You've experienced the live foundational course and you've experienced the self-paced foundational course. Now, besides the presentation of the material, was there something different the second time round coming to this market? Second time going through the material, was it different? Was it because you digested that information almost 4 years ago that kind of made it easier, or that a couple of light bulbs came on? Or what was it about the self-paced foundational course that has really stood out for you as a returning Hodlnot?
Well, I would say first thing, and this is logic to me. I mean, it looked and sounded more mature than in the first instance, but this is a normal, or the result of a normal process. If you start doing a course or preparing a course, that evolves over time. Of course, you get feedback, you have your experiences, and then you start improving things and adjusting the course accordingly. But also, I think some of the technical things have changed. I remember, this is my main example that popped up to me, is you're not teaching the blue candle anymore. Um, so that was the one thing that really jumped into my eyes immediately, that because I was missing it, that what happened to the blue candle? I mean, it's still in the indicator, in the Hodlnot indicator, but it's not taught anymore in the self-paced course. So that was one thing. So something in the teaching has changed, I would say, and assume, according to the change in the market. Maybe that market condition have changed. There are thousands of more coins today available every day coming up. To be traded than it was at the time in 2021. So for me, it's a normal process.
Absolutely. It is. We've seen the evolution in the markets, and of course, our courses try evolve with the ever-changing landscape of those markets. I mean, the fact is that we don't focus on KuCoin like we used to. We're focusing more on Mexi and the different offerings. But I'm a firm believer of right time, right place. And perhaps, you discovering Hodlnots through Bitcoin Tough back in 2021, it wasn't quite ready for you, but having come back and you're like, okay, this is the right time, and this is what I'm going to do. Because you jumped in and had questions, you were on all the calls, and yeah, I think that's what accelerated you through the material was your attitude, and perhaps some of your previous experience, but you were in the right mindset at that time to do it. But we can only know when we're in the right mindset if we experience something, we go through th something. And the fact is that after having done the initial course, then you decide to refocus. I mean, you did the UTC and you did every course available, like you said, but then it was like, okay, now I'm making time for the book. But this time, there's no, well, we presume there might be a sequel to your book, Marcus, at some point. But this time around, after having graduated from the self-paced course, you stuck around in the den, all right? Is there a reason for that, or was it because you knew that there was something called the Minute Money Masters Challenge that kind of piqued your interest? Or what was it that, yeah, kept you staying in the den? And and if it was the 3M challenge, what drew you to that 3M challenge?
Now, the challenge idea came into my mind a bit later. That was growing also when I was doing the course, the self-paced course. At one point, I heard the first time about the 3M challenge, and then I heard about it and said, okay, let's look at it at a later point in time. And at a later point in time, I looked into it and became excited about it immediately. And then I said, now is a point where I would like to know and understand how I could join the challenge. In the beginning, I would say I stayed in the Dane because there was always this idea in my head that if I'm in there, I can always have a chance to get that one trading idea that helps me to make some money. So osmosis. A lot of people calling out ideas and calling out coins that might be worth to trade. And that was more that aspect that I was really just hoping to find that one coin that could make the real difference in trading.
Well, what is interesting is back when you first graduated, there wasn't a 3M challenge. I mean, that's only been, the last couple of years. Um, And since then, since our very first black bears, Graham and Sebastian, also German, we've had a number of black bears. I think we're sitting somewhere up around 11 at the moment, if my math is correct. And it's been quite a shift. So there has been a lot more focus really on the 3M challenge. So it's on everybody's lips. You hear about it on all the calls. There are a great number of support calls, etc. So so this is brewing in the back of your mind, the 3M challenge. Now, Marcus, are you the kind of person that relishes a challenge?
Some, not every. I mean, there are many challenges in the den or in the lodge that I could have participated, but I think I rarely did.
Mm,
Um, I need to become attracted to a challenge. I need some particular challenges. That's something that, yeah, let's call it that challenges me really. That where I have the feeling I can get to a next level.
mm,
I can do something major. I find it nice to send pictures and about pets and all these kind of things. I really appreciate that these things are being done
mm,
because I think it's important to maintain a community, to build a community, and to keep people together and have a good mood and the right, let's
mm.
say, the mind community mindset to be built. But that's not necessarily um, challenges I'm taking part on. I'm a let me call it a growth person, and I need to have the feeling that I can grow with it in
Well,
my definition, my personal definition, right?
right. And I mean, that's what you teach is growth, self-growth and improvement, right?
Absolutely.
That's where you help mentor people.
Yeah.
Now, I think most of us on this call, watching this recording, are all about growing, right? And the only way to be better self or to be a better trader, better scalper, a better hodl fire, whatever it is, a better person in general is to be challenged, right? Because I think we have to learn to step outside of our comfort zones because only then do we experience potential real growth. If you sit in your bubble the whole time expecting change to happen, it doesn't necessarily do that, right?
No,
Would you agree with that sentiment, Marcus?
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, change is happening around us, right? And we can't avoid it. It's just happening. It's as we live, change happens around us. And because change is happening around us, we are changing as well. But very often we are not noticing it. We are not recognizing it. It just happens. And the difference, the big difference is when we talk about um, I would call it conscious change, is that we need to put some ingredients to it in order to be able to enjoy that change. And those ingredients are goals, commitment, purpose, and a couple of other things that we need to put together in order to be able to positively participate from that change. And that's what I think um, that yeah, how I would put it. Let's call it that way.
I think I completely agree. I think for a lot of people, growth or change is uncomfortable and can be difficult. But what you're saying there kind of reminds me a bit of Graham's story. But if one can set goals or incentives within a challenge to kind of reward oneself for, taking a few steps forward, and then to encourage one. I think that's important. And besides self-fulfillment, you grow some more, you learn something new, and you feel better, you feel more empowered, more educated. But I think having little goals or little rewards along the way to keep one motivated really helps. And I know you've watched the video and we've heard the story, but every time that Graham, again, one of our first black bears, every time he leveled up, I mean, his wife bought him flowers. And I think that was such a beautiful show of support. It wasn't like Graham was going out and buying his own flowers. I mean, nothing wrong with that, but I think that's amazing from a support point of view. But not everybody has that. But I think it is important that when you're dealing with something challenging or there are frustrations and you get to the next level, you take an uncomfortable step, I think it is important to reward yourself or to have these little incentives. Um, so I don't think you went out or had flowers bought for you along the way. And I think we're going to talk about this a bit more, but just a very short question and a short answer is, did you have incentives for yourself going through the 3M challenge from the different tiers or the different levels, Marcus?
Well, in a way that I have taken my moments to really feel the joy and feel the happiness about having made it to the next level. I took my time and I just stopped doing anything. I was just me sitting in a chair, closing my eyes and just yeah, just being with myself and congratulating myself and enjoying the moment for a couple of minutes. That was my celebrational moment.
I think those moments of self-reflection are good. There is the potential hazard of ego coming into play. One gets a certain sense of fulfillment and pride, but it can potentially lead. Again, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a life coach or any of those, but just through my observations is that, and I've seen this through my own trading, and I think many of you here, once you've had a great trade, we often get a little overconfident and sometimes a little cocky, a little arrogant around that. And I think it's, yeah, I think Marcus, my last question before we dive into some of these levels and those experiences was, did you ever find yourself, feeling a little overconfident? Or did you somehow manage through wisdom and life experience to keep yourself humble? Or was it just natural just to feel this like, oh, I've doubled $20, I can do anything. I'm perfect, I'm great. Or did you try to stay humble through all of those?
Um, I stayed humble. I know the feeling, and I had have been in that situation too often earlier in my life where I have experienced that, yeah, let's call it the mistake that you can get from it or make from it too often, so that I have learned and practiced over the past 10, 15 years this, yeah, let's call it self-control, just to make it tangible, right? It is kind of self-control, but it is a result of long practice of mental work, meditation, and all different kind of things, which I'm practicing since 15 years or so. And that helps me to just stay in a mindset um, that allows me to be happy and to enjoy the moment, but also to be, let's say, focused enough to not do too many of the big mistakes afterwards.
I think, Marcus, that you've done a lot of work on yourself, which is amazing. Not everybody has, and I'm looking forward to chatting to Ray, who's slightly younger and maybe hasn't done meditation and that kind of thing, and to hear his perspective on it as well. But when I get back to the program now, just talking about frustrations, from a from I think a lot of people in this room can relate to is that within the 3M challenge, you start off as a bright, sparkly yellow dot and all new and like all excited. And this idea of starting with just $20, that's your trading position. You have reserve, in case, something goes wrong. And that's the whole purpose of the 3M challenge starting at $20 is that if you do make a mistake, that it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. So how long were you in the yellow dot, the initial first tier of yellow dot? Because there are two levels within the yellow dot, right? So how long were you in that? And what kind of frustrations do you think you encountered while doing that first level of the yellow dot?
I do not remember exactly, but I wasn't in there too long. It went pretty fast. And to be very honest, I had almost no disappointment.
Well, someone is saying
It,
in the comments down
it
below
just
that
worked well.
mm,
It's, yeah.
2 weeks, apparently, all right, within that first level. So for those of you who are unaware, that means taking $20 and doubling it 100% in 2 weeks. Now that's pretty quick. Now, just for a bit of context, Marcus, where were you trading on which exchange were you trading then versus later on? Did you stay on the same exchange? Did you?
Mhm.
Okay. So
Yeah, I started trading on Maxi with the challenge. I opened a new account on Maxi, and I traded there for the whole challenge, and I'm still trading there today.
okay. So no disappointments in that first level. Where would you say which dot or level did you first start encountering frustrations or disappointments?
Never. I never had frustrations or disappointments. What I noticed were different feelings,
Ah,
different level of consciousness, I would say, because I try to keep the behavior I traded, whether it was $20 trades, $40 or $1,000 trades. I just try to stay in the same kind of trading mood, I would say. So not focusing on the result itself, but focusing on picking the right trades. I'm a strong believer in that money is just a result of doing the right thing. So I was focusing, trying to do the right thing. And then I would know that the money will come anyway.
so not having really experienced too many frustrations at all, disappointments at all within the entire process, that sounds almost like a dream too good to be true kind of thing. And while trading on Mexi, you do get some more volatile runs and volatile coins. But explain to all of us what your approach or your process was in the beginning of when you first started the challenge, in terms of finding coins, being particular around the trades that you did take, and if that process was tweaked or evolved or changed somewhat over time? Did you become, a little bit more adventurous? Did you stick to your recipe? Did you become more conservative? But walk us through as a brand new yellow dot trading with $20 and being particular, because again, I stand under correction. Thank you, Eisen, for that. 2 weeks to complete both levels of the yellow dot. So that's a 200%, 2x there. So, Marcus, tell us about the process of your approach to trading back then, and did it change at all throughout?
Well, I believe in, and that's some context just to make sure that you understand where I'm coming from. I don't believe in speed, in big amounts, in low prices and all these kind of things. I always believe in quality and consciousness of action. What is it that you are doing? Why are you doing it? And all these kind of, let's say, mental things, you could say. And that's the way I try to apply it to my trading as well. So that means I was not looking for the fanciest coins. I was looking for the coins who, from my ability to assess the coins, were in a good shape to trade. And once I have done a good trade with a coin, I just stuck with that coin. I did not run the lists up and down trying to find plenty of coins that I could trade. I was always keen to pick just a very few that I could trade, and I traded them all the time, as long as possible.
So, this might be a bit of a leading question, but what would you say with those few coins that you looked at? What was it about those coins that you knew that you could follow, that you could get in and out and continue to get in and out over the day or the next day? What was it about those particular coins that you were focusing on, Marcus?
We had that one moment, and you and Vicky probably remember when we were talking about that. I had that light bulb moment in one of the calls we had, the Thursday afternoon calls during the self-paced course, when I told you that I now got that light bulb moment about timeframes. When I got that time frame thing, everything started to come to a complete new level for me, and my trading got so much more relaxed. It got so much better from a quality of the trade perspective. Um, I was so I felt that was basically the thing. I felt so safe when I entered a trade because I knew the time frame thing. I just knew that I know it. And that made me really calm down and helped me a lot. It was such a big difference.
I think for the purposes of this interview and those here live and those watching the recording, without getting into a chart or anything about that, Marcus, can you just sum up what was it about time frames that clicked for you and that you knew that you didn't have to worry too much about this coin tanking out of the middle of nowhere? What was it that part of that light bulb moment that allowed you and still continues to allow you to trade successfully?
It is simply the fact that you need to answer the question, or that I'd always try to answer the question for myself. Do the higher time frames allow the coin to go up? Bang, that's it. Nothing else.
Like what would not allow a coin to continue running? You're talking about the higher time frames.
If you see some, let's say, some um, not matching indicators, or some some hints that there is not everything just in the best possible order, stay away. Wait.
Okay, so we're talking about conflicting indicators, and I think for most of you understand time frames is that we're talking about potential resistance as well up on the
Yeah,
higher time frames. The fact is that you might be trading under a 4 hour 200, things like that, just to bear in mind. And it reminds me, somebody mentioned last week that their trading took a whole new level just because it wasn't even about the higher time frames, it was the 5 minute. And again, this is from a trading perspective. So time frames, like Vicky has always said, is the answer to everything.
yeah.
But for you having, done originally the Hodlnots course, the scalping course back then, maybe it wasn't a deeper understanding of time frames, even if you did other courses, but you had a light bulb moment in that self-paced course where it was like, right, if I'm going to be successful, time frames really is going to come into it. So I think that's a fairly big light bulb moment. And I think for the other black belts on this call, the others who are quite high up in the 3M challenge, I think definitely think that is playing a role. So that's quite an important light bulb moment, Marcus. So um, did your strategy change? Because I asked you, you've been quite particular. Did it change, or did you stick to a certain recipe, or did you stick to certain rules or guidelines for yourself throughout your journey, or did those rules evolve? So I won't do this, but I will do this. These are my guidelines. Is that what stuck with you the entire way, or did you add any or let them evolve?
Now it's I had my I would call it my red line stayed the same, and then I had little experiments. Not too big, not too risky, but always trying to tweak and adjust little things. Maybe let's say trying a one day a very new coin, which I'm not very happy with, or I wasn't very lucky with, and something I stepped back from. On the other hand side, I traded one of the coins that I traded for longer. I know that I now have to leave that coin just there for a moment because it's on the runway and all the so just little things, but always keeping those coins also on my list, checking them every day, analyzing where are they today, and then deciding on a daily basis what to do with them or not to do with them. So it basically stays the same, only for the challenge. What I'm now doing now, it's the moment where I'm currently in the process of finding out what it is that I would like to trade. Do I more focus on hodl fire? Do I more focus on scalping? Do I maybe even focus on longer trading? That's what I have not finally decided. I have defined very clear goals that I want to achieve with my trading in general, totally clear. And I'm currently trying to figure out which are the best strategies to get there to be able to achieve that goals.
I think that is important as a trader, be able to realize, cool, you've accomplished something, and now where do I go from here? And we'll get into that now because you know you have been hodl firing as well, but we'll get to that. What I do want to ask you is, was there any sort of mindset shift that happened when you were between trading $20, you're trading $50 or $100, 250, $500. When you started trading in these higher dollar positions, because within the different levels of the Hodl levels and stuff, was there I'm now trading $500, or did you find that incremental increase, having accomplished 100% and then 100%, and was there a noticeable change, especially when you started trading like $1,000? Was there a shift, Marcus?
Yeah, that was definitely a shift. That was when I think it was a purple level when you start trading $1,000. That took me 2 3 days to really get familiar with that yeah, let's call it tension. Um, for me it was new ball game. I was much more excited. I was a little nervous. I was super careful. I was, I would say, if I was trying to avoid 80% risk before. In that moment, I was trying to avoid 100%, 120% risk. So that really took me 2, 3 days to get familiar with that new setup.
It is a bit of a jump, especially when you start trading with, four digits, first it was double digits and then triple digits, and then you're
Yeah.
looking at $1,000, and $1,000 is a lot of money. Um, and it does require a bit of a shift, especially when you've been trading, a little bit less than that. I mean, we're not going to talk about the different dollar positions in the different levels, but you build up to that, right? And for a lot of people, the yellow dot and the pink dot are where some of the biggest lessons are. You had an approach and a guideline and a set way to identifying, sticking with them, and being very particular. So in a way, you were luckier than others. We know that we have members in our community who stuck on a level for a long time, and that can be frustrating. So before I get into the next question is, while you seem to have it easier, I mean, you did a lot of hard work because you were particular and you didn't grab every running coin. What would you say to those who are or have been stuck on a particular level, whether it be yellow dot level one or a green dot for an age? What would you say to them as a form of inspiration or encouragement, Marcus?
When I started the challenge, my purpose to taking the challenge was that I wanted to prove to myself that I can run through it in order to be able to become also part of the group that is then exchanging, discussing, helping each other with more enhanced trading styles, setups, whatsoever. I wanted to be part of that group. And that is something, this purpose, this goal, this objective was more or less something that it sounds a bit mechanical, and it wasn't like that, of course, but that is something that I remembered in every trade. And I think when you can manage to remember trade by trade, why are you doing that challenge? That could help you definitely to stay on track and to go through it maybe much smoother than when you are focusing on, I need to hurry up in order to be able to achieve the next level money-wise. That's not helpful. Focusing on the money, I think, is not helpful.
I think that's a very valid point, ladies and gents, is remember why you're doing this. Remember what you might have a goal, and hopefully it isn't financial, but it might be to a point where at some point you want to quit this terrible job that you have and be able to trade for a living. Sure. I mean, that's a financially driven goal. But you're wanting to join something like the Black Bear Cave, where people are trading higher dollar positions and trading in different styles. And that might be a motivating factor. But I think it's focusing on trade by trade and not getting too caught up in this idea of, oh, one day I will be this and one day I'll be able to trade like this. Is that and from what you've said is stick to your rules, stick to and be particular about those that you're going to trade. Make sure the time frames are in the right position. Um, there's some very valid points, and I see some great comments coming down in the bottom there, Marcus, which we'll get to shortly. I did have another question around this journey, right? And that includes not just you focusing on your trades every single day, but within each of the dots, right? The yellow to the pink to the green to the red to the purple, are these support calls, or what they call the Hodl help calls. And you jumped on a number of those, and there were various trainers. Now, I mean, it's a bit of a rhetorical question, but I mean, were they helpful? But in what way, or what did you learn from being on these Hodl help sessions with the different trainers?
Exchange. I mean, it was first of all, I rarely came in with concrete questions. I very often, and I think mostly, came in just to also trying to understand what the other participants had in terms of questions. What are they struggling with? Is there something that sounded familiar to me? Is that something that I haven't been conscious enough about in order to recognize it and to understand that I'm dealing actually with the same problem? And then also just to share my experience in order, yeah, to give back in a way, to provide to the community. I mean, I love this community. It's such a great place, and it's also on and always so wonderful to just talk about the experiences and exchange and yeah, maybe just simply chat around. And there's so much value in these calls, not only for the trading, not only for the course. It's just from a human being interaction perspective is, yeah, such a great value for me.
Yeah, we find, community support being a lot or everything for most people. And this Hodlnots and Hodldots communities are exactly that. I mean, I know that you're also talking about the self-paced course calls, those Thursday calls where you get to hang out, but yeah, those Hodlnot calls, happen twice a week, different time zones are really beneficial if people are able to jump on and actually engage. Some people gain information just by through osmosis, just sitting there and listening. But I think for a lot of people, once you start being more active and grabbing the proverbial bull by the horns, especially within the 3M challenge, I think that can make the difference. Nothing is going to come easy. Nothing is going to come by sitting around. But I had a question as well in terms of your process. I mean, you being an author and you encouraging people to learn more about themselves and coaching them as well. Did you keep a journal at all, Marcus, throughout your journey? Are you that kind of person? I mean, I'm not a journaler, but did you make notes as you went along? Did you record your trades? What was some of your process around that side of like note taking and everything?
I've just recorded my trades, so I've just kept track of the data, let's say. For the rest, how I felt and the emotional side of things, for instance, that's part of my daily meditation routines, and yeah, that's what I'm doing there. I'm not writing down my emotions per trade, so that's not what I'm doing. I also have these, if I have done my meditation in the morning and I afterwards feel today is a day I shouldn't trade, then I don't trade. I just don't do. I stay away from the computer and I do different things.
Is that to do with your own emotional mindset or emotional
Yes.
set
Yes.
and nothing to do with what the market is doing on that day?
No, no. I don't care too much about the market, I must say. Um, I I don't, well, we all know there are better days for the market and there are not so good days for the market, but I actually live by um, believing that there's always a chance. Whatever the market is, there's always chances to trade. But if I'm not in the right position, if my mindset is not set up right that day, then the market can be good as it wants to be good. For me, it's a bad day for trading. It's better for me to, I don't know, play squash.
I think that's it's quite a wise thing to say, and it comes with knowing yourself. And guys, I'm not going to get too psychological or emotional here, but um, knowing what makes you happy, knowing what kind of mood you're in, when you're going to get frustrated, what's going to annoy you, what's going to inspire you, and if you're feeling positive, and knowing what to do when if you're feeling positive ahead of the day and trades aren't going well from a technical point of view, it's nothing to do with you. Then knowing when then to step back. I think a lot of people can attest to that, Marcus, is that sometimes they'll have, great moments and then everything just starts going wrong and they can't understand why.
Yeah. Yeah, or you just want too much, right? You are not able to stop at the right moment. I mean, that happened to me, of course, as well. It's not that I go through everything without any mistake. That's not the case, not at all. But I try to really learn from those moments. And I really try to, let's say, become conscious about myself, my emotions, my feelings, my habits, and all these things that are happening in certain moments in order to be able to understand better when it is good for me to do what.
That is important. And ladies and gents, you don't have to be 6 years old, and wise to know yourselves and to know what kind of mood and mindset or even heart set that you're in. Now, speaking about emotions, I'd like to hear from you. You went from red to purple and you're almost black. What were you feeling in like that, especially like the la second last year before you got to the Black Bay Cave, knowing that you had come so far? Were you excited? Were you still very focused? And you're like, oh, it's just another step. What kind of emotions were you going through at that time, Marcus? Especially when you had like, I don't know, $200 or $300 to go before, finishing and joining the Black Bay Cave. What were those last few steps from an emotional point of view, or were there no emotions and was just routine?
No, no, there were emotions, of course, and excitement was quite a couple of times overwhelming, and I had to really control myself, bring myself back to normal in order to just stay focused on what I used to do and what I successfully did before, just to keep doing that, and not to, let's say, to become too pushy. Um, Only to make the last step, for instance. I had that definitely, and I really had to yeah, to put together all my consciousness to just say, hey, come on, man, stay calm, continue doing what you did before, don't rush. And yeah, but I know what you mean. I felt that.
I could well imagine, when
Yeah,
you ramped up to certain, levels and
yeah.
stuff, you're like sat and quiet for a couple of minutes and like, okay, this is good. But I'm sure as you
Mhm.
got through from red to purple, you were like, yes, I'm super
Yes,
excited, Marcus.
yes, of course, absolutely.
Um, so what you've been saying the last couple of minutes is that knowing yourself, when to trade, when you shouldn't trade. But even prior to that, you were talking about having a set routine, being particular around which coins you were trading, making sure the time frames, and that was your guideline, that was your recipe, because it worked. And if you stuck to that, it would work out. Whether something didn't go wrong, which you might have had one or two bad trades, that's normal. But you're like, okay, I need to go back to my guidelines. Or on the other side of the spectrum, where things were so jubilant and joyous and you were so excited and you're like, okay, okay, focus, 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 right? So it was always coming back to your game plan that worked. And if it didn't work, you would obviously tweak it. But it was always coming back to that recipe that worked for you. Is that right, Marcus?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Then what I would like to find out from you, because some people in this room and some watching this recording have been through this. What was it like when you got those last, well, how many dollars was it that you needed for the last trade, Marcus, before you had completed purple and you were going to the Black Bear Cave? I mean, what was it the last amount that you needed? And then,
I think it was something around $50 or so. And I think I then had a trade in which I earned just 60, 65 or something like that. It was not that I jumped over the goal big times. It was I made it over it, but not big times. It was
do you remember what coin it was that you traded?
no, I would need to look in my journal. But if you want me, I can do so.
Yeah, that'd be great in the meantime, because I mean, I think for some people, like there's certain moments in life where, like it's so overwhelming, like whatever, and you forget everything that happened. It goes by
Yeah.
in a blur. And for other people, they're very cognizant. They know exactly what was the very first coin they ever traded. I know what mine was, and a certain momentous times in that life. So yeah, Marcus, do you remember?
Yeah, well, I'm just about to find that out. It
Okay.
was uh, it was it was a coin BIO, bio.
We know that one fairly well. We have scalp traded it. We've hodl fired that in bio, full of life. That it seems fairly fitting. It could have been some other sort of German or some other sort of apt apt one.
Yeah, yeah.
It could have been the token black bear or black or bear or whatever it was, but bio got you over that. And how did that feel having finally completed the 3M challenge? You were about to step into the Black Bear Cave. I mean, I presume you messaged Wendy or Liesel. What was going through your head at that time? What emotions were you going through?
Gratitude, um, happiness, um, some level of satisfaction, um, yeah, calmness in a way. So yeah, yeah.
Not relief, just
Yeah.
okay.
Also, of course, yes, in a way. Um, it is like like I'm not a runner, but I can imagine running a marathon or something like that, and once you cross a finish line, you are just relieved that you've made it. Something like that. Yeah,
Yes, I can attest to that feeling. I think a lot of people can, any sort of trial or any sort of period of, where there's some challenge or something and you manage
yeah,
to eventually get to the end and you've got, blood, sweat and tears and, like it's been a journey. But yes, joy I think was a big one. Did you crack
yeah.
open a beer or some sparkling wine perhaps, or did you celebrate?
In the evening, I had a glass of wine. Yes, yes. And just to come back to your second last question, John, the final trade of bio was only 23.51 dollars gain, and it brought me just above by 58 cents above the objective.
Wow. Well, most apt to most, yeah. I mean, that was after a conscious decision to trade that, to get in, to get out, right? So,
Yes. Yeah.
my on that note, during your trading, you've been trading on Mexi, you've been particular about the trades that you're in. Can you give us a rough idea as to how long you were in trades for? Was it one candle? Was it five, seven, sometimes longer? Uh, and you've said it's never been about the money, but did you have a routine where it's like, cool, grab and go, two candles, get out? Was it, let's see how long this will run because the time frames tells me it's going to continue running for a while. What was your what was your methodology or your practice around trading?
Yeah, that's a very good question, John. And that also refers to what I've said before, that I'm currently looking and trying to find out what is my preferred trading style. And what I can definitely say is the longer the challenge went, um, the higher was the number of trades in which I stayed a bit longer. In the beginning, in the early stages of the challenge, I was definitely much more doing the grab and go style of trading. And later on, in particular, in the last stage, when you trade $1,000, then I definitely stayed longer, mostly.
Was that because you had developed a confidence around those particular coins, or that you were confident in your trading, or that you had a deeper understanding of timeframes and that coins would continue to run by staying
I
in?
would say a mix of everything that you've just mentioned. It's I could not just pick one of the aspects. Mostly probably I would say the confidence to stay on the trade. because I was just feeling secure.
And I think that that could well be a light bulb for many of you watching now live and in the recording. In this market, yes, and especially on Mexi, it is prudent to be, grabbing or going two candles with some of the volatility and the volume and the spread on Mexi coins as well. But
Yeah.
I think, and this has always been my philosophy, is that when I scalp trade, I stay in longer because I have an understanding of time frames. And sometimes I've been in a trade for like 15, 20 minutes instead of going through five separate entries and exits. But again, that works for me and that works for the coins that work on Binance. But you've gone through your journey, and I think people need to go through their own journey as well. Now, remember what Marcus has done, ladies and gents, is not going to be the same recipe. It's not going to be the same template for every single one of you at all. Graham has gone through a different journey. Rita's gone through a different journey. I'm sure Ray has as well. There have been a number of people. So through these interviews and these testimonies is that just because one recipe works for another doesn't mean it's going to work for the next person. Marcus is wise and he, teaches and everything else. But so just bear that in mind. Marcus, two
It-
last questions.
John,
Yeah.
can I just add one
Yes.
or provide just one example?
Yes.
When I look at I'm just currently reviewing my tracking spreadsheet, and for instance, when I was in phase green 2, I only had 12 trades with 5 coins that brought me to that level. So I was always remembering during my trading that in the beginning, Liesel and also Wendy told us you will do many trades and you will trade so much. And of course, yes, and you can if you do grab and go style. That is absolutely possible to do very many trades. But as we just said before, there were phases or levels in the challenge where I almost, I could say, where I almost didn't trade. Well, I just traded a very few trades and with a very small number of coins. So it's possible also that way. Yeah.
It reminds me of Anton. So Anton in Black Bear. I remember Vicky and I were talking about it, and it would be like, well, Anton's been in the den for a couple of hours, 8 hours today, and he's been grabbing 0.5, 1.2s, and just doing hundreds of trades and
Mhm.
taking those little grab and goes, grab and goes, grab and goes, right? And that worked. Fantastic. But to your testimony, sticking with a few coins, doing very few trades will equate to the same thing. And again, yes, it depends on, the market, and it depends on, the percentages that those candles can push. Sure, but there are different styles and different ways of trading for different people. But they
Yes,
need to find something that's comfortable for them, right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So, second last question I have for you, as we wrap this up. I mean, this has been incredible so far. Is Did you have any favorite moments throughout this journey, this 3M challenge journey? Going from yellow one to yellow two, pink one to pink two, green one to green two, and so forth. Was there anything that stood out for you besides that light bulb moment you had about timeframes? But was there anything else? I mean, maybe it might be difficult to peg it down to one moment, but were there any moments at all that really stood out for you in this journey?
Um, well, there were there were many moments which I appreciated very much and which I felt really warmly well, I would say. There was always when Liesel made the announcement that I made it to a next level. That was Liesel. Thank you very much for that. Very nicely done and very well done. I really appreciated that. And then the most outstanding moment was a welcome call in the Black Cave or Black Bear Cave.
It's a sense of accomplishment. I remember being there and yeah, just welcoming another black bear into the cave,
Yeah.
and just really testimony to what that 3M challenge can and afford. So yeah, I think you've been very calm throughout your journey because you've stuck to a recipe and not let the emotions run too much. I mean, fairly reserved, but being like, hey, let's just stick to the plan, not get too carried away around, the financial implications perhaps and everything else. But finally getting there and being recognized for it, really, because hard work. I was going to say how many weeks? How long did it take you to go through the entire 3M challenge, Marcus?
Well, I think it was somewhat about 2.5 or 3 months or so. That was, yeah, I do not know exactly, but something around that, maybe 3 months.
All right, I'm sure, I think Liesl's still on the call, but be able to pop it in the chat there and confirm with us. Um, So, looking all those books behind you in your background, you brought out your first book, Marcus. Is there another book on the table for the future? I mean, this is said in jest, but are you going to be now focusing on trading full time or part time? What is the future basically bringing for you? Because I know you spoke about now trying to identify, you're just going to scalp trading, or you're going to be looking at hodl trading, because that's obviously something you've done. We've had the call with the self-paced course around that. Or is it a long-term understanding of where the charts are going and now focusing on a second book, another book? What's the next chapter basically for you, Aniston?
Well, I have plans for the next 120 years, John. Absolutely. And one of the plan is definitely to write more books. I will definitely do that. But with regards to the trading, is my objective is to make trading my first source of income, because that provides me, um, yeah, the opportunity of choice. I want to transform my coaching into something where I really can help people and don't need to get paid by the people. So just for providing something good and something to the better. And the trading makes my living, so to say, so that I can do the other things just from the bottom of my heart, I would say, because I just love to do them and don't need to ask people for money. If they want to pay me, they can pay me, but I don't want to ask them. So that's basically my objective.
Didn't the Rich Dad Poor Dad author Richard Kawasaki, didn't he say um something like, I'm paraphrasing, but do something in your life that you enjoy and you will never have to work a day.
That's what I feel for myself already for 10 years almost. I don't also the coaching is not really work for me because I help people transform, I help organizations transform, I help them achieve new ways of working, new level of goals and these kind of things. But I'm still doing it in an mostly enterprise context, which is not what I want to do because enterprises do not appreciate humans. And I do appreciate and want to focus on humans only because we are here, we are making the planet, humans are making the enterprise. If there won't be humans, the enterprise building would just be a building. And that's the way I would like to yeah, to continue until God lets me do that. So
So, well, provided that AI doesn't take all of our jobs, but humanity is really why we're all here. We're all part of a community. And I know that a lot of the black bears have stuck around and they continue to give back to the community. And Marcus, every time you've been on one of the calls, especially the self-paced Thursday calls and even the Hodlnot calls, you've always been there to help and continue to help the community grow. And this interview is one such example. But I know that you're going to be around for a long time because, the community has help bring you where you are. You yourself have brought you where you are, but you're that kind of person who's generous with your time and your energy. And we're looking forward to, you being still around and contributing towards the Hodlnots community, whether it be part of the 3M challenge or otherwise. And again, I think from all of us, massive congratulations again on you and your journey. I'm looking forward to all those other books you're going to be bringing out over the next 120 years. Don't forget, you can find his books, Marcus Anson, on Amazon. Um, so that little plug and joke aside, Marcus, there are a couple of questions from our community I'd like to get through. Just have a quick look at the very first one. And that's from Lenny, asking, since you're sticking to the same coin for a while, this is your approach, right? Does it mean you were looking at coins which are on the daily charts above the 200 and scalping that coin again and again and not worrying about others which are trending for the day or in the market at that time?
Yes,
So
that's what I'm doing, Lenny. Yeah, that's my approach. Yeah.
So, so you have a list of coins that, for instance, I mean, there are a few at the moment, quite a few more,
Mhm.
that are
Mhm.
currently above the 1 day 200. And again, ladies and gents, you should know what the front of the mountain is, right? So if a coin is in good support on the front of the mountain on the day chart, right? What does that mean? That coin's going to continue running. Some days will be bigger than other days, but it's in a good area. There might be some resistance up ahead versus I know people who basically only look at the exchange and what are the top runners for the day. And they will hopefully go and trade those. And maybe they're doing a grab and go, but they're not looking at time frames. It might be hitting a 4 hour resistance or a 200 or something like that. But you basically stick to a couple of coins that are looking good on the day. If it's not looking good on the day, there's a doji or even the 7 EMA is humping over on the day. You don't stick with that. And we in Hodlnots have always said you don't marry a coin. But there's nothing wrong with, sticking with it for a couple of days, especially if it's looking good. So, Lenny, I think Marcus has answered your question. And if a coin isn't looking good on the day anymore, Marcus, what did you do?
I move to the next one.
So basically, that list of coins that you had that you focus on each and every day would evolve or change slightly. One is now retracing on the day. It's now, seven crossing down over 21 on the day. It's coming down for a while. Cool. That comes off the list for the moment. Bring another one in. So to that point, roughly how many coins did you have on your list at a time that you would generally be focusing on?
Well, I have a list of, I would say, around 50, 60 or so, which I'm focusing on. And there is one more important information or aspect that I should add to answer that question. Those coins do all have a certain liquidity, right? It's very important that you can do something with those coins on the exchange you are trading on. That's quite important, of course.
Absolutely, especially on the higher levels within the 3M
Yes.
challenge. When you're
Yes.
trading higher dollar positions, you need to know that the liquidity is there, especially Mexi. And the fact is that the spread difference, the prices between the actual or the difference between the actual prices wasn't a percent between, if you're a buyer,
Mhm.
you're coming in, you've got two sellers, and the price difference between the last two is a whole percent or more, definitely something to be cognitive of. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Daphne Mateus saying focusing on the money is not helpful. Agreed. All right, they're agreeing 100%. Do not focus on the money. And I remember, hearing from Graham and a couple of people as well that initially, when you're trading $20 and you're making a dollar, which is 5%, it's not about the money. It's about the percentage gains and that repetition, right? Even later on, when now you're doing 10% on $1,000 trade, as example, it's still about then it's about the money, but it's not. It's not about that financial gain. It's still about that repetition. In my understanding of things and how I trade is that if I'm making a good 5%, it doesn't matter whether I'm trading $100 or $1,000. That should be that should be the mindset. Now, there's a question here, Marcus, from Soraya or Sue. I'm going to include both of the questions in this and I'll read it out. So, Marcus, what do you look for before putting on a trade or getting into a trade? And did you look at the percentage with a trade? Now, I'm presuming the percentage potential gain, not what you got out of it. So, let's just answer mainly the one question. What did you look for before getting into a trade?
That's exactly what we already said, answering Lenny's question. Um, it's basically what position is a coin in, and that's a learning, John. Thank you for that. That I have taken from one of our conversations we had, where I really, well, yeah, where I had that light bulb moment that I start looking at the day, front of the mountain on every time frame from the day to the hour, and then it's a pretty safe trade. You only need to decide what is the time frame you are trading on. And this is, I would say, something personal. You need to find out for yourself what suits you best, but make sure that on all time frames, the coin is front of the mountain.
Thank you. All right. Well, I mean, with an exception, and so those of you who do hodl fire calls,
Of
uh,
course.
yeah, the day could be well under the
Yeah.
200,
Yeah.
but provided that the front of the mountain concept underneath the 200, so at least 7 over
Yeah.
21 over 55 is there, and there is a decent enough gap. But Marcus's choice of coins has generally been those coins that have been above the 1 day 200, front of the mountain there. There was a time, a couple of months ago, when there were very little or none that were in that situation. But there are exceptions to the rule. But making sure time frames, front of the mountain, ladies and gents, you've heard it from Marcus, not just us.
There's
And
always potential to, let's say, to trade left and right of the rules, right? But that's a personal risk decision that you have to take. If you wanna um, exclude negative trades to the most, then stick to the rules.
again, and I think Marcus, to that point, I think one needs to reach a certain level of experience and actual positive results before one can start dabbling or playing left and right of the rules, right? And I think that's where we grow further. But I think experimenting from the early days, you know, being a cowboy or cowgirl from the early days without any sort of set positive results and set guidelines is more risky than if you've done it from an experience point of view.
Yeah.
So there's a question from our favorite Frenchie, Donatien. In terms of your Mexi trading and obviously the 3M challenge, that would have to be spot trading, I presume. But a question was it Mexi spot or future platform or both? Now, on the future platform, you can trade one to one, uh, where there's no leverage on that. So when you were trading, was it the normal spot Mexi platform or was it the futures platform?
For the challenge, I only and only after the challenge I changed it. But for the challenge, I only traded spot. And only well, I experimented a little bit with very little money on the future platform, but I didn't do challenge trades. I took those as separate trades, not counting into the challenge, and just a very few. I'm only now since I've finished the challenge. Trade more regularly on the futures platform. Also for getting or becoming more experienced with the effects of that platform.
Yes, we will talk about that more in depth at a point. There is a time and a place, I believe, and again, I'm not going to go too much of a rabbit hole here, but shorting doesn't work if one doesn't know how to trade up in the correct manner, you know. And I think, as per Wendy and Liesel's rules around the hodl fire, around the 3M challenge, is that there is no hodl fire trading, there is no leverage, as in, more than 1-to-1 ratio. And I think sticking with one platform and one form of trading, so spot trading, versus trying to do too many different things. If you're using the spot trading platform on Mexi and then the futures, I think it's a little too distracting. Um, so I think just from my own personal opinion, and I think some of the others as well, is that it's best to stick to one and get to know it well, get to know yourself well, get to know the rules well, and stick with those rules. And once you get to a certain point, then be able to experiment. And that's the next step in growth, isn't it?
Well, I'm a strong believer in focus, and when you do the challenge, focus on the challenge and the trading that is required within the challenge. If you focus on experimenting, focus on experimenting. Be aware what are the experiments you want to do, and what are the learnings you want to achieve, and then focus on that. But do not do two or more things at the same time. It always gets down the toilet.
Absolutely. It's what we say as well with those. We spoke about this actually 2 weeks ago, I think. If you're going to scalp trade and learn how to scalp trade properly, focus on that. If you want to learn how to trade the hodl fire, focus on that.
Yeah,
Only with experience, once you've kind of mastered both of them, can you learn to switch between. So I'm very comfortable switching between scalp trading, hodl fire trading, and that mindset that required. And it's the same if
yeah.
you're focusing on spot trading or futures trading on Mexi. Stick to one, get to know them really well, be successful out of there, well, on that platform, and then move on and experiment. But experimenting from early on, like Marcus says, chasing two things, you're never gonna master it really well. Um, Donna Cien says she's very impressed because she had noticed that Mexi futures have more liquidity.
Yeah.
Uh, so doing it on spot trading with sometimes erratic or weird liquidity, it's even more impressive.
But that's by the way, one aspect that is also interesting to mention. The list of coins I have developed for to look after myself is coming from that point Donatien is mentioning, because trading on Maxi Spot requires you to really find the coins that do have a certain amount of liquidity, and that again helps you building the right list for that exchange. So that was part of the process, or one more result of the process.
I guess it's kind of choosing the harder of the two parts within Mexi, right? So spot and futures, and where maybe there's better liquidity in futures. But if you can grind through, and we know there's more than 3,000 coins on spot USDT trades in Mexi, and 98, 95, 98% of them are terrible. But then knowing which ones are actually the good ones, that's a sense of achievement and accomplishment. And we're like, I know these coins well, and I've done the hard work. Um, I'm not saying that trading on the futures platform is easier, but trades are only going to be successful if you do the homework, if you do the research around what is needed, liquidity, time frames, and those indicators. Um, I love what Daphne Mateus said. Aha, nice to see we'll have a buddy in the next 120 years on the journey. Much agreed. Thank you, Liesel. Marcus started on the 15th of May with the 3M challenge. And then there is one more question from Lenny. Maybe I look at this. And this is an important one, ladies and gents, is risk management. And that whether it be psychological or an actual mechanical or physical risk management tool. Did you have some sort of risk management plan for each trade or every day? For example, what your maximum loss per each trade or each day would be, and then you would walk away. If that number was reached, number of trades, or the percentage was reached, that you would then walk away to avoid revenge trading it.
That's a very important and also interesting question and point. I'm still a bit experimenting with that as I'm trying to find my trading style. Um, the it is easy to set a percentage as risk that you would be willing to accept, but a percentage could be vary from coin to coin. So, and the behavior of each and every coin is also different. Some coins do need a bit more room to breathe. If you intend to hold a coin for a little bit longer, then you need to also adjust your risk, um, your willingness to accept risk. It's a different percentage because you probably need a bit more room for the coin to move and to develop, and that's a tricky thing. I was handling it during the challenge more on an intuition basis, no fixed rule. I'm currently in the process of developing some risk management plan for my future trading at the same time as I have defined my goals. What do I want to achieve with my trading? What is it that I want to trade on a daily basis and all these kind of things, which I'm working on currently. But I definitely would recommend to think about that and to become very clear for yourself what it is that you can or want to accept in terms of a loss. It's absolutely important.
and sticking to it or sticking to whatever you've decided for the day, obviously depending on which
Absolutely.
coin and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Don't move your stop losses, right? If you're in a trade a little longer, do not adjust it. That is your rule. Stick to it. Like Graham has always said, you put a stop loss in place and it hits, you made the right decision. You put a stop loss in place and it doesn't hit and it runs and you take profit, also the right decision.
Yeah.
Marcus, I think those are all the questions. Unless there are any last questions from anybody, you're more than welcome to quickly pop them into the chat. But from all of us at Hodlnots, all of us in the Black Bay Cave. Yeah, especially, like Vicky and I, we've been part of your journey through the self-paced course, at least, and seeing you embrace all that information, asking all the questions. We loved every single question you've had. The fact is that often you would jump on those calls and you would just sit there and give advice to others on the call and sharing that wealth of information and wisdom. From yourself and your journey with others has just been amazing and spectacular to be a part of and to see that and witness it as well. So Marcus, we thank you. Yeah, indeed. Thank yous coming all around there as well. And yeah, continue to share the journey. I know we know that you will. We know that you'll continue to be there for the community. And yeah, we're looking forward to interviewing the next Black Bear in the next short while. But yeah, Marcus, it's been a privilege. The fact is that I've known you since December 2021, not very well up until the last few months. It's been an honor. I'm gonna go and look on Amazon now for your book, and get some other inspiration as well. And yeah, super super cool. And we're looking forward to seeing you and yeah, your growth and where to next and what you're gonna be focusing on. But yeah, thank you from all of us here at Hodlnots, Marcus.
Can I say one final thing, John? Thank you first of all for all the compliments and for doing the call today with me. The one thing I really would like to share and also appreciate here in this group today, and maybe for everyone who is watching the video. First of all, big thanks to Vicky and you, John, for the calls we had during the course. That was always exciting. I will come back, continuing to join, participate, learn from, and provide learnings to the group of people, whoever is there then. Secondly, I definitely would like to thank Liesel for all the support during the challenge and now being, so to say, a Black Bear colleague in the cave. Really always a pleasure, Liesel, working with you, talking to you, interacting with you. And then to everyone who hasn't done yet, um, a big thanks to Wendy that she has invented this challenge. This is such a great experience. It's such a meaningful thing to do in order to learn so much about yourself um, in the trading, who you are as a trader. We all know who we are in different other situations, but the 3M challenge is a very good thing, a very good opportunity for everyone to learn, to understand who you are as a trader. And that is so important when you want to um, yeah, do trade for a living or earn some money with it, whatever. Knowing yourself as a trader is a foundation for it. And thanks, so many other people on the call, which I really like, appreciate working within the den. And so you are all helpful, contributing, and are sort of part of where I ended up finally with making it into the cave. Thanks, everyone.
I can see a number of people here being in the position you were in when you first joined in 2021, 2022, when you graduated and you were there. And I know that every person here on the call who hasn't done the 3M challenge or participated or graduated into the Black Bay Cave all have that potential to do so. And we're hoping that through sharing these testimonies, through these interviews, that you guys will be encouraged. But remember, it is up to you to find out your why, to find out why you're doing it. It's not about the money, it's about that self-growth. And if you can find those rules and you can stick to them and you can do your research around timeframes and things like that, you too can become a black bear and join the cave as well. Until then, thanks everybody. We will catch you on the next one. Thank you, everybody else, for being here today. We will drop this recording into the lodge and everywhere as soon as it's done. Until then, ciao.